You flip the switch, and nothing happens. You flip it again. Still nothing. The computer screen went dark, the fan that always hums in the background fell silent, and the refrigerator stopped its steady buzz. In 2 seconds, the room went from being a functional space to just a dark room full of objects that no longer do what you put them there to do. A power outage is not a serious emergency on its own, but it has one particular quality. It knocks you off autopilot all at once. And right there, in that moment of disorientation, most people make the most unnecessary mistakes. They grab their phone and crank up the flashlight, open the fridge 3 times in a row, call someone without knowing what to say, and end up at 30% battery before 20 minutes have passed. What you actually need in those first moments is not quick movement. It is observation. Before touching anything, you need to understand what is happening. Did only your apartment go out, or the whole building? Is there light on the street? Is your neighbor across the hall also in the dark? That information completely changes what makes sense to do next. If the outage is only in your home, something probably tripped in the electrical panel. If it is the whole building, someone may have already called the property manager. If it is several blocks, the most likely scenario is a problem with the utility company, and you are going to have to wait. The electrical panel, sometimes called the breaker box or circuit breaker, is the first place to check when the outage seems internal. It is usually in a hallway, near the front door or inside a wall cabinet. There you will find a row of switches or breakers. If one has flipped down or is sitting in a different position from the rest, that is your problem. Before flipping it back up, unplug whatever appliances were running. If the breaker trips again immediately, there is a short circuit or an overload that requires an electrician. In that case, do not keep trying. If the problem is external, your phone becomes the most important tool you have. And for exactly that reason, you need to treat it carefully. The most common mistake is using it as a permanent flashlight from the very first minute. The phone flashlight drains the battery fast, especially when the screen is also on. The smart move is to lower screen brightness to the minimum you can work with. Switch to airplane mode if you already know the outage is affecting the whole area, and you do not need a signal, and close every app you are not using. Save that energy for what matters: communication, information, and a short burst of flashlight when you really need it. For lighting the space, the best approach is to not rely on your phone alone. This is where what you already have at home starts to matter. A well-placed candle can give you enough light to move around and handle the basics. But candles carry a real risk. If they fall over, if they are near something flammable, if a pet or a child knocks one down, you have a fire. Never leave a candle burning unattended. Never put one on an unstable surface, and blow it out before you leave the room. If you have a battery-powered flashlight in a drawer somewhere, now is the time to use it. A rechargeable lamp, a bike light, a solar garden light from the balcony, even a tablet screen at full brightness can light up a counter or a desk without burning through your phone battery. Once the space is minimally lit, and you know the problem is external, your list of priorities shifts. The refrigerator and freezer can hold their internal temperature for several hours if you keep them closed. A closed refrigerator holds cold for roughly 3 to 4 hours. A full freezer can last up to 48 hours if it stays shut. The rule is simple. Resist the urge to open them every time you want to check on things. The more closed they stay, the longer everything inside lasts. There is something many people overlook when it comes to appliances that are still plugged in. When the power comes back, it sometimes returns with a brief voltage surge. That can damage sensitive electronics like computers, televisions, and chargers. The most practical thing to do is unplug those devices while the outage lasts. Then reconnect them gradually once the electricity is back. Surge-protected power strips help, but not all of them actually have that protection. If the outage happens in an apartment building, there are a few things that deserve special attention. Elevators, first and foremost, never use them during a power outage. Not just because they might stop mid-floor, but because getting stuck in a dark cab with no idea when the power will return is a situation that is simply not worth risking. Stairs are your only option, and you should take them with a flashlight, slowly, watching every step. Electric garage doors and building entrance gates may also lock up completely. Many have a manual release lever or cable that lets you open them without power. It is worth knowing where that lever is before you ever need it. In apartment buildings, the water pump that feeds the tanks can also run on electricity. If the outage stretches on for several hours, water pressure to the faucets may drop or disappear. Filling a few bottles or a large pot as soon as the outage starts is a decision you will be glad you made. You do not need to fill everything, just enough to drink and handle the basics. Moving through the house at night or in darkness also comes with its own hazards. Cables on the floor, half-open doors, furniture that has been moved, steps or level changes between rooms. These are all obstacles that daylight handles for us without us even noticing. During an outage, you move more slowly, keep one hand free to steady yourself, and point the flashlight toward the floor rather than straight ahead. Communication matters too. If you live with other people, quickly agreeing on who is going to do what prevents everyone from doing the same thing or nobody doing what actually needs doing. If you live alone, letting someone you trust know you are without power is a good habit. Not because it is an emergency, but because if the outage goes on for a long time, that person may have useful information or be able to help you get it. For anyone who wants to be a little more prepared, you do not need a bunker or a sophisticated survival kit. A basic home outage kit can be something very simple. A battery flashlight with fresh batteries, a portable phone charger, 1 or 2 candles and a lighter, a bottle of water that you keep filled, and a piece of paper with the important phone numbers written down. That is it. It takes up almost no space, costs very little, and the difference between having it and not having it shows up in the first 10 minutes of an outage. A power outage does not just reveal how much electricity we use. It reveals how many decisions we have quietly handed off without realizing it. The light, the warmth, the information, the cold food, the access to the building. All of it runs automatically when there is power. When the power disappears, you are the one making the calls. And the difference between coming out of it fine or spending hours in disarray is not about having a lot of gear. It is about knowing what to do first, what to protect, what not to waste, and how to move through the dark without letting it get the better of you.